Hello everybody, my name's Adzi and welcome to this video. Now recently I bought Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition on the Switch, and I think there's a lot that other developers can learn from it. The game is a pretty accurate recreation of the original. Now the graphics are obviously different, it's kind of like a chibi style. Some of the texture work is a bit meh, but the rest of it looks pretty good. It's actually a fairly nice looking game to play most of the time. And the combat is kept pretty similar because the combat in the original I thought was quite basic and it actually got quite boring after a while. The story is kept the same, the voice actors are still in it, and there's not as much side quests, but all the areas in the original game are there. And it's broken up into little chapters, which obviously lends better to like a mobile or a portable version of the game. So the first thing I think other developers can learn from this is that there seems to be a certain fear when porting games over to the Switch that they won't run as well as the PS4 or Xbox versions. But if you take, say, Wolfenstein 2, now obviously it only runs at 30 frames a second instead of 60, but it's a solid 30 frames a second, and the motion controls on the Joy-Cons actually really helps the game, especially for someone who's into PC gaming. Motion controls is better than a controller, but it's still not the same as a PC, but it works quite well. So I think developers should not be afraid to port over graphically intensive games like Final Fantasy 15, because there wasn't a hope that was running on the Switch, so they actually used their brains and made a version that would run on the Switch. So there's definitely a market for these kind of games. I don't think developers should be afraid to release these, well, I wouldn't call them lesser versions, but kind of dumbed down versions of their games so that they can run on a Nintendo Switch. If it's a good port and it stays true to the original game, people will buy it, especially because it's portable on the Switch. Now the second thing I think developers can learn from this is that not everyone has 30 to 50 hours to put into a game. Either they genuinely don't have the time or they're just not willing to. Now I'd be the first person to sit down and put 50 hours into a game over a couple of weeks, but not everyone's like me. So there is a market for people who enjoy playing games, but just don't have the time to sit down and put 50 hours into it. Even for me, I play a lot of games, but it was still quite refreshing to sit down and play Final Fantasy 15 and complete it in like 15 hours or so. Another thing is that games are supposed to just be fun. It is fun sitting down and playing the big spectacle version of Final Fantasy 15 with the amazing graphics and the cool cutscenes, but I still did enjoy myself sitting down and playing the dumbed down version with the basic combat, the basic skill tree and the basic upgrade system. And the final thing is to just encourage developers to make other games like this. Now the other examples I can think of is, say, if Naughty Dog made a top down Uncharted trilogy and it was a twin stick shooter and it had all the voice acting but the graphics were different, but it still played throughout the whole story. And Microsoft could do the same with, say, Gears of War, another top down, different graphics, same story, same plot, everything, same areas, same enemies, but just do it with different graphics and a slightly different gameplay style. So yeah, I do think there are a few things that developers can learn from these kind of games. It would be really interesting to play other big budget titles on the Switch or on your phone, but it's whether or not developers are willing to do it. Obviously the sales of Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, only on the Switch I know of, were pretty decent, so I think it would encourage them to make it, but it's whether or not they would go ahead with it. Thanks for watching, I appreciate your time. If you want to continue the discussion down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all on the next video.